Becoming who you're meant to be is never tidy.
It's the sacred in-between, where chaos meets clarity.
Where truth cracks open light and light brings you home.
Welcome to Journey to Radiance, where real stories,
raw truths,
and brave transformation light the path forward. We're not here to give you a highlight reel.
We're here to talk about the parts of life that shape you.
the messy,
magnificent middle,
where reinvention
begins.
Welcome to Journey to Radiance. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to our tribe. My name is Melissa.
I'm Alana. I'm Joe.
And we're so glad you're here. So something's very different this episode. Let's go ahead and address that right off the bat. As of today, as we are recording this very episode, we are in the middle of a huge snowstorm. And so we were paused and challenged. Should we, cancel? Should we reschedule? Like, what should we do? And I often hear from our tribe that we need more episodes. Like, we don't have enough content. We can't create it fast enough. And so in that regard, Freddie Mercury said it best, the show must go on. So here we are. But that being said, I personally prefer to be with these women in person, but we cannot let perfection be the enemy of progress. So we are here, and just warning, technology sometimes be technology. I just made that up, but technology is going to be what it is. We may have a challenge or two. It may get messy, but that's on brand for us. So we're glad you're here. Our working title today is Alignment on Hard Days. And so what does radiance look like when the world feels really heavy? This episode is meant for the days when staying aligned feels harder, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're paying attention and you're feeling all of the feelings. And right now, many of us are carrying heaviness, and many of us feel that our nervous system is overtaxed. There's a lot of noise and fear and uncertainty in the world right now. And sometimes it gets really hard to stay grounded. And so we really wanted to ask that core question today. What does alignment and radiance look like when you're having a hard day, or when the world feels really heavy and you're feeling all the feelings? So again, this episode is for the days when alignment feels harder to reach and radiance feels just a bit quieter. And I know, Alana, you have some thoughts that you'd like to kick us off with. So I open the floor to you, my dear.
Yes, thank you. And I'm so glad we sort of had this question, brainstormed it, but now it's evolved a little bit deeper. So I found myself Sunday waking up just feeling very heavy, angry, sad, confused, a lot of emotion. And I was trying to figure out, thinking about this question, I almost posed it to myself in the way of, how do I stay in the light or in high vibration without bypassing reality, right? Without ignoring what's going on in the news or the media, but also knowing that might not be good for me or good for my mental health. So one of the things that helps bring me back to alignment is expressing it. So one of the first things I did was kind of be with the emotions. So feel the emotions, process the emotions, and then I get vocal about it. So I actually texted Melissa and Joe and was like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on in my head right now, and kind of brainstorming it out loud. And I'm pretty vocal on social media and texting my family, and again, texted you both. But that was really one of the first things that I felt like I needed to do to get back aligned, was really just process these feelings. And then it was a lot of, how can I make my home comfortable and peaceful and uplifting, right? If we're talking about being where your feet are and being present, I knew Sunday was a day that I needed to just kind of have a couch day. And be with the feeling. So, one of the other things that I did was I posed this question on my social media, on my Super Bloom coaching Instagram. And I just wrote, hey, we have an upcoming podcast episode. And how do you all stay in the light? Like, I want to hear how other people stay in alignment. So I'd love to read some of the tips from some of my audience, and I've gotten their permission to be anonymous, and then one person would like to have their name shouted out. So I'm just sharing this in hopes that these tips help us all in days where, it's just a little bit more heavy and dark. So one of the things, the first thing is the reminder that this too shall pass. The second thing is train your algorithm. Follow positive pages that showcase all the very good that is still in the world. I love that one. One, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So a lot of times we say, definitely get out there and get new perspectives, but maybe on these days you want to just kind of be with your crew, be with your people. Fourth thing is, someone said, I think the goal isn't to stay positive, it's to stay powerful. While reality may be heavy, I get to decide what I amplify and what I anchor into. So I let the truth in without letting it take over. And then you ask, how can I be a light today? Maybe it's just to one person and doing something very simple. Another person said, utilizing creative energy. So while it doesn't completely shield all of negativity that may be happening, that output does spark some personal joy. So I love that, like doing something creative, doing a puzzle, drawing, anything like that. Another person said, pouring love into my daughter or my kids, right? Again, doesn't shield from everything, but in a time like this, showing what love means to a young mind can be really comforting. And then two more things. So second to last is address what's happening, take action where you can, and take care of yourself. So that's definitely something that I was doing. And then this last one is from my friend Kwan, and he gave me the go-ahead to read it out loud. And it was very interesting because we talk a lot on the Journey to Radiance about, this isn't another highlight reel. This is real. Like, this is messy. This is hard. And we talk a lot about social media, and he weaved this in very nicely. So he said, how do we as people process the daily moments of life that bring us joy while also being totally and completely wrecked by what's happening to others? How do we enjoy the promotion at work or appreciate the steak and glass of wine while also carrying the weight of watching people murdered on our phones while immediately scrolling to the next video of protein brownies? It's an incredibly hard time for those of us with eyes, ears, and hearts. Stay soft, stay strong.
Wow.
And I just paused with that because we are so flooded with noise at all times. And it's like you can scroll on your phone and see something horrific, and the next post is an influencer making protein brownies. And you're like, where do I go? At least I felt like, where do I go? As much as I want to have fun and be playful, I'm over here. And just recognizing that I needed to be where my feet are, that helped me really slowly process through.
Wow.
So thank you to the people who wrote in about what they do for themselves. I think it's really helpful. It was helpful for me to hear, and I'm definitely going to take some of those tips the next time I'm feeling heavy.
Those were fantastic. The ones that you shared that really resonated with me is about, doing something creative, because I think there's actually science there that indicates like you could change your brain chemistry by shifting to do something creative, and take yourself out of that kind of negative mindset or that toxic, news feed. Because quite honestly, depending on your rate of consumption and depending on the volume of consumption, like, you are completely beholden to other organizations and entities to like completely control your headspace. And what we give intention to mentally very much sets the stage for how we show up to other people, how our mood is impacted, how our performance is impacted. and relationally, like how we imprint on others. And so I love that thought about doing something creative and changing the brain activity around that. And, I feel at times throughout this episode, I'm going to invoke humor, and that's not in any way to belittle or lessen the impact of what is happening around the world. I'm not trying to be reductive in that way. What I'm trying to do is ground us in the sense that we are also human beings that have to have equal parts light when we are processing darkness, because it is important for our well-being and our mental well-being. And so, you'll see, like yesterday, I posted some silly picture because I'm out there in the middle of the winter storm, and I'm all geared up. I didn't change out of my pajamas. Don't get it twisted. So I had my leopard pajamas on with my overcoat, my RIT winter hat, and I'm outside, digging in the snow. And he's like, "Oh, you look so radiant. If your tribe could only see you now." And it felt very threatening to me, like he was going to post something on social media. So I just beat him to the quick. And it was literally a split screen, me all dolled up, ready for a photo shoot, and me like in a silly getup. And I shared it, number one, because he can't have that power over me. But more importantly, just for us to take a beat and to just pause and to laugh about something, because it is so heavy right now, right? And so I just want to share that. But when you talk about training your algorithm, I don't know about you guys, but right now my whole feed is about dogs modified through AI, like doing podcasts and doing dances. And that is life for me. So I understand the sense of, feeling very torn because you're dealing with these heavy topics that are like globally imperative, right? And we're talking about human lives, which is the most precious thing ever, right? And the loss of human life is not to be diminished in any way. But at the same time, we do need those grounding moments to find humor, to find beauty, and to anchor ourselves that even if just for self-preservation, because the work has to go on and the fight has to go on, or whatever our mission is related to what's happening, like it's the oxygen mask on ourselves first. And that's really important. And I learned this firsthand, just my own personal share in that, Alana. And I also had a couple questions on your share. Back in 2017, I was on a 24-hour news cycle. I was absolutely paralyzed in fear. I couldn't stop watching. And I was so afraid of what was going to happen in our world, what was happening like live, because we had someone literally tweeting his way through the presidency. And this is not a political statement. This was just like, I felt raw and exposed and vulnerable and scared 24 hours a day for 4 years, the first 4 years of this particular term. And I felt, once I got through that, I felt like it took me a couple years to get to be okay again, right? Because I was it wasn't just the information I was processing that was scary and harmful. It was also the realization that I couldn't trust any source of media or data. And I'm a history major. I want to know the sources. I want to be able to look at the cited sources and know that this is in fact like verified, trusted data. And we're at a time in social media that's not possible. And it's a really scary thing. So I share that story to say what I'm doing differently now is that I'm really taking an inventory of myself. What state am I in? Do I feel strong? Do I feel vulnerable? Is my frequency high? Is it high enough that I can take on some weight and some gravity and some heaviness? And if I'm not, like I have to prioritize my mental health and my mental well-being, because I can't sustain the way that I did in 2017. And it's just not sustainable for me. And so how I've had to refocus my energy is I can't do anything right now that is going to really impact this massively big situation that feels terrible. But like the person that, the feedback that you just shared from your feed was, what's my cup of change look like? My friend Kevin has this beautiful thing. Like we need an ocean of change. We can't affect the ocean, but we have a cup, and our personal cup, we can have impact with that. And I've learned in my past experience, my energy is best spent focusing on my cup of change because that's where I can actually see impact realized. That is affirming for me. And it's a way that I can truly have impact in my community. So I would pause there because that was a whole lot.
Yeah. You got to stay in your world for a minute. And what that's the thing. How can I be the light in my day today or for someone else today? And yeah, it's not affecting maybe this volume of people, although we hope it does. But like that trickle effect of people giving me tips, and now I'm sharing them with you, and then you're going to go share that creative tip to someone. You know, it is a ripple. So your small self-love, self-care moment is doing more than you think.
Yeah, I think what you said about how you felt in 2017, Melissa, there was, so I'm going to take you back to 9/11, another terrible year in history. We, at the time, my husband was active duty military. And when they started sending troops overseas to the complete unknown, I met a woman who her husband had gone overseas, and she was completely and utterly obsessed. She could not tear herself away from the TV to where after months she had not slept in her bed because she was on a 24/7 watching the news in case she saw something had happened. She stopped living, and she became an existence stuck in her house. So unhealthy, such a life of pain and misery for her. And she chose it, and she couldn't find that light. She couldn't find anything to pull her away from that. And when her husband returned from the deployment, I believe their marriage ended. Because she literally could not pull herself out of that existence, which I'm sure is a clinical state of depression at that point, and all kinds of other bad mental health issues happening to her. And I felt terribly for her, but though she just could not pull herself out of that trauma. So I think what we're talking about here is really important and impactful, because we do get sucked in, and there are times where it could be something happening to us directly, or it could be being sucked in by media and things happening around the world that we cannot directly impact. But what we can do is keep each other bright and light and, moving forward. It doesn't mean we don't care. And I think that's the really important message. But we can care about our own and ourselves and our immediate more effectively than we can sit and watch news feeds. So I think I'm very guilty of distancing to way far of a degree. I sometimes feel like I don't know what's going on in the world because of my refusal to watch news and media and social media. There was a time where I thought, oh, I've cracked the nut because I understand I can just not watch it. But it's so distancing in some ways that sometimes I feel disconnected from the world because of that. So finding that happy medium as well is really important. And to your point, Melissa, when you would have to devote so much time to truly understand the truth of what is going on, because you'd have to watch several different medias, check on all of them. And I don't have time to do that. So I distance myself. So I have to find a way of being more connected, but not going too far into the connection. So it's balance, but
it is balance. And I love what you said there, because I just wanted to be clear, like my intention is not sticking my head in the sand and avoidance, but it is, we have to acknowledge reality, but I don't think that we have to be the one analyzing the event or the politics of it, right? Like the analysis part is, I think, where the obsessive behaviors can come in. And I don't mean to be controversial, because again, this is not politically leaning in any way. I think for me, and I'm strictly speaking for myself, I'm not making any recommendations for anyone else in there. What I'm saying is, in order for me to be okay, I had to recognize that I had to create some boundaries around consumption and make some really clear observations on when I felt it was safe to consume. And then there's a whole other, scrutiny that needs to be applied to what I'm consuming. But it's what's different between me now and 2017 is the pause and the intentionality around my checking in on myself. What state am I in? And then what is the degree of consumption that I can handle right now? Because my job is not to be, we've talked in past episodes, my new focus right now is not to be riding the high or riding the low. My new focus is riding the wave, but staying in the middle. And so that means there's a constant check-in, there's a constant evaluation, and there's a constant vigilance around where am I on that scale? If I'm up here, okay, I can consume some really heavy stuff right now because I will be in the middle. But if I'm having a real tough day, I might have to punt that till tomorrow when I'm feeling better and then reset and reanalyze.
Yeah, that is so true. And Joe, what you said about that woman who almost lost herself, right? And I felt the same way too, Melissa, I used to be so involved in the news and I was like, well, I can't be ignorant. Like, I need to know everything that's going on. But that wasn't good for my mental health. So I also have taken a step back, and I'm like finding what the balance is of dipping in to know what's going on while also taking care of myself. But I want to know what's going on and taking care of myself. So I like that you said, Melissa, like that's going to change daily. That might change hourly. And one of the things that we learned in coaching was the course was called Balance. And the questions were around what's here now. And I remember hearing that question and I'm like, what's here now? What does that mean? And it's like, well, what's here now and what's here now? So within a second, within a minute, there's different perspective, thoughts, feelings, behaviors in your head. And for me, it's asking myself those embodiment questions of what mood are you in when you're in this place? And what's it like for you to be here? And they would literally have us move around the room. And what's it like over there? And what are you aware of in your body when you're facing that way? And it's just really interesting because we rarely pause, we rarely check in, and you're just noticing. And I think that was for me on Sunday. I was heavily noticing emotion. And as an empathic person, I didn't have a choice to ignore it. I just had to sit in it. And I think it's okay to know that you're going to have a day that's not productive by external meaning of that word, right? Like I wasn't going to be doing a lot of things. I was just going to be with myself, and it's carrying into today, and it might pop up again on Friday, so it's just like, for me, the awareness of what mood are you in when you are here has been helpful.
Well, and that's a perfect segue. And before I go to the segue, I just want to acknowledge, yes, your own internal processing and reality of processing changes every minute. And I was struck by the person on your feed who said, this too shall pass. That is ancient wisdom. You take that ancient wisdom and apply it to this moment of time in history. This too shall pass is literally a nanosecond, because the data feeds and the amount of information and the processing time of information is so rapid. Like this too shall pass in 2 seconds, which is not the context of when that phrase originated, right? So it's almost like you have to have the right tool for the right season. And this season, the insanity of processing, the insanity of sensory overload and overwhelm, it will literally take your life because that's what it wants to do, right? That's the marketing angle there, is to detract you from everything meaningful. So you spend all of your waking hours fixated and trapped in fear and trapped in crisis and because that motivates your buying, right? Like if you're having emotional feelings, I can just click on this ad and I can buy this thing and this thing will make me feel better, right? Like we're totally taking the bait. And so I think what we're talking about is creating space and intentionality to explore those feelings and to also reframe it so that we're not judging ourselves or lacking grace to answer the question, what do we need in this moment of overwhelm? Or what do we need in this moment of feeling, right? So just to be clear, I want to redefine radiance. If we put this in the context of this, the name of this podcast, radiance is not always positivity, right? Radiance is not always calm, and radiance is not always the absence of turbulence or challenge. Radiance is not always having it together, right? And so sometimes, to your point, radiance on hard days looks like staying really grounded where your feet are, choosing presence over just numbness and distraction and like watching television. Like, I'm just going to sit here quietly and feel what I'm feeling. Staying connected to your values and making sure that you have alignment there and you're not self-sabotaging or self-sacrificing or diminishing yourself. Allowing grief without losing yourself in grief. I mean, your example, Joe, that woman completely lost herself in grief. It became all-consuming. And so she really did lose that connection of her internal spirit. And
I want to
go ahead.
pause there on that one.
Yeah.
Because that just made me think of, so yes, that the losing herself and because I was kind of in that for a morning. But such a good reminder to zoom out. Yes, what do I need in this moment? But also, can I zoom out? And for me, spirituality helps so much in this time, which relates to the this too shall pass, right? How can I hold certainty even in uncertain times? How can I trust that for some reason, this is all happening, but it's part of a bigger plan? Yeah. I mean, that to me immediately shifts my body, shifts how I'm feeling. So for me, I think I'm giving advice to myself yesterday. I'm like, oh, if I could have zoomed out a bit and just leaned into the trust over the logical mind. So, yeah.
Let's double click on that because I love that we're going to use you yesterday as the context, right? For this, this. So when you had a hard day yesterday, what did it literally feel like in your body?
Stomach ache, digestive. It's always, for me, physically like anxiety tummy, I would call it. Yeah. And
so for me yesterday, I was feeling similar feelings. It felt like heaviness in my chest, and it felt like I couldn't take a deep breath. My breathing was shallow.
Yeah.
Can you relate to a time, Joe, you felt that way, and what you're feeling in your body on a bad day?
Yeah. And I think what does it for me is uncertainty, which I think is what if we were going to sum up everything in one word, that's it, right? It's the uncertainty, it's the unknown, it's the how will this impact me, my family, anyone? So when we take those situations, I think, and we've talked about this in a way earlier episode, where do you feel that? And me, it's in my back, it's a tension, and it's, I carry everything in my shoulders, so my back gets tense. And like you said, Melissa, you take a deep breath in, and that's when you can really feel that tension. So for me, yeah, and that to me says uncertain, and I'm not sure, and I don't know what's next, and I can't predict what's next, and I can't control what's next. And it's those feelings for me that will start to bog me down.
Thank you for that. And so then, Alana, I love that you, in the earlier part of this segment, you talked about the things that you were not going to do. So you said, I'm just on the couch, right? So talk a little bit, what are you telling yourself, or what are you going to stop doing on those days?
Yeah, I knew that I was not going to open my laptop and do any sort of work business-wise, because I'm not in a good headspace to answer an email even, really. So it's knowing that about myself. And then to continue to take care of myself, like I made sure I had a really good dinner. So I made that fun. Like I was like, oh, this will be like fun to make a good soup and like add in some hearty, good stuff in there. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I was very much the same yesterday. For me, it was, I think I went down the rabbit hole of spirituality. So I started the morning at St. Patrick's Cathedral at Mass. And then I went to the Vatican and saw a live Mass. And then I was looking at a local church, Spiritus Christi, that I love. And I was listening to the music and like getting my spirit lifted. And then I was down the rabbit hole of a monk, from, a Buddhist monk and like his wisdom. And so it was like, I surround myself with higher thinking and higher vibration and higher frequency. And so I wasn't going to do anything but immerse myself in that space. How about you, Jen?
Great. That would have almost been maybe too much for me in terms of like, I know we've all talked about like listening to a podcast or something at that time, but I know for me yesterday, I actually I wasn't there yet.
Good. But that's hugely self-aware, right? For you?
Yes.
I knew I needed that because my soul right now, and this is a season for me where I am like, it's like I haven't eaten in most of my life and I've finally been given a meal. And so I'm just like, I'm just consuming so, rapidly and like 24 hours a day, I'm consuming positive, uplifting, spiritually led content right now. So I'm in that season where I just can't get enough. And so, but there's been times where I've been like, you so low energy. I just need to lay there by the fire and like cuddle with my dog. And so being really tied into what do I need in this moment is really important. How about you, Joe? How do you discern what you're not going to do or what you should be doing or need to do for yourself?
Yeah, I think much like you, Alana, it's distance from the things that are not going to benefit if my mood is not right. And Melissa, we have a great poster in the office that says, watch the energy that you bring. I can't quote it, maybe you can, but basically you're responsible for the energy you bring to this place. And, being aware of that, so not responding to the text messages or the emails, if possible, not opening up the computer and definitely keeping away from the news and from social media, because that is just a trigger of bad mood sometimes. The things that I will do is definitely working out, because I feel like you work out that negative energy. I'm huge on going in the sauna and just being still and quiet and just sweating out the bad energy. So I love to do that. And I think planning something, like Alana, you said cooking something. For me, it's planning something, whether it's the next trip or maybe decorating a room or something. And maybe that's that creative energy coming out as well. But I think it's giving yourself something to look forward to distract from, okay, I'm in this slump right now and I feel blah and I feel the tension, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, because this too shall pass. And so I think just doing those things to reset and ground yourself are really, really important.
That's great.
Go ahead, Alana.
No, that just made me think of one of the questions one of my favorite managers ever asked. He asked it in interviews to everyone, and I love it. He said, who are you on your best day? Yeah. And who are you on your worst day? Ooh. And it is true. It's like, you should know who you are on your worst day and know what you need and don't need and aren't going to do and can't commit to. And Joe, like that, like knowing I want to plan something to look forward to, and that's going to get me out of this. But I just love that. It's, yeah, of course, like who are you on your best day? So fun. But also it's like, and what can I expect? Because you're going to have your worst day. And like you said, showing up on what does Radiance look like on a normal Monday or a terrible Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. So, and that's just it. Like, you get to decide what Radiance looks like for you on a given day. You get to decide what's a good day and what's not a good day. And you are not responsible for anyone else's feelings about you having a good day or a bad day. And please, please, please do not let anyone shame you out of a bad day or shame you into a good day, because it would be performative and it would not be genuine. It would not be authentic. And that would be self-abandonment, in my opinion. So like, I have to, sometimes the best thing I can do is isolate or give myself space so that I don't feel as, because again, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I know this about myself. So the recovering people pleaser knows I need to just isolate myself some days so that I can be simmering in all the things and not feel like I have to show up and perform differently for someone else. And it's really important for me in this season that I'm authentic 100%. So Radiance today, if I'm having a tough day, or Radiance in a normal day, like a meh day, would be not reacting, taking a walk and choosing a walk or choosing exercise, Joe, like you said. Sometimes I feel really good when I get to cancel something. Like, I'm not going to go to that meeting today, or, hey, I know I have a full schedule, but I'm going to do something else that I think is more important to me right now in this state. Right. And definitely not talking about canceling someone else. I'm talking about an activity you have planned, just for clarity there. Sometimes it's crying and still showing up. I'm a crier. So when I feel like helpless, or I feel like powerless, or I feel frustrated, and the tears come up, and I am okay with that. Like, I'm okay with crying in public. I don't have problems with that. And so, still showing up for me sometimes is tearfully, and I'm okay with that. And again, choosing silence instead of commentary, or the need to give input, or the need to respond. And then, we've talked about it so much about prioritizing your own needs, your own peace, and your own experience and authenticity. So that's just, something I wanted to throw out there. So in the same thread now on those, let's go back to the hard day, because we've talked about what a hard day feels like in our body. We've talked about what we stop doing on a hard day. What does alignment look like? Without effort. So when you have given yourself the gift of what it is that you've determined you need, how do you know that that is working, or that it is helping, or alleviating, or supporting you? What does that feel like?
I think it's a sense of peace. You feel more peaceful. It feels less chaotic. The noise goes quieter, and things don't irritate as much.
Yeah.
I know for me, I get very overwhelmed when there's a lot of noise happening. And at home is where it gets me the most. If the TV's on and the dogs are walking around on the hard floor and their nails are clicking, and, maybe someone's eating or cooking, and maybe my grandkids are over and they're playing and being loud, and it becomes too much. And so for me, when that noise starts to not irritate me so much, because if I'm in one of those kind of places where everything is heavy and I'm feeling those things, and then all those noises start to happen, I could escalate. My mood could go bad very fast. So I think feeling better is that noise not being so irritating. It's still there, and I still struggle to concentrate on any one thing, but I can start to bring everything back together and feel more peaceful.
So talk me through, like, you're in that moment, you have all the chaos going around you, the grandkids, the dogs are barking, the, Amazon drivers ringing the doorbell, which makes the dogs bark louder, and the husband's, hey, honey, where's that? Like, you're in that space where you feel like, I don't know if you guys remember Cow Down, Take Me Away, or if that's an older reference of my generation, but talk me through how you go about reducing that exposure for yourself, and like, how do you recognize that you're in a challenging state, that is bothering you? And then, like, what are you doing in response to that in that moment?
So the recognition is that the slightest thing will annoy me. The frustration over, it could be a kid playing, and I find that annoying, and I instantly know, no, that's not right. That's a child. You don't get to be annoyed at a child making a noise. So instantly knowing that's not the cause of it. That's a symptom. And then starting to remove the noises. So I think and something I wrote down before when you said about doing the things and not going to the places when you're in those places, sometimes you don't have a choice to cancel the meeting. I think back to when I was basically a single parent for 6 months at a time. and had those days because of what the world was going through and where my husband was, I couldn't not show up for my kids daily. I was there only. And so I think one of the things that we can do, and if we can't say, you know what, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to work from home today. That's really nice. And that's a huge honor that we have, a gift. But if you can't do that, I think just being vulnerable, but daring to say, you know what, if we could remove this from a situation, it's really bothering me right now. Daring to do that, or daring, like you said, Melissa, to let the tears flow and just say, you know what, I'm having a day.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I will be okay, but I'm having a day. And just being vulnerable and daring to acknowledge what's going on and say it out loud, and, you know, not hiding that from even children, because they shouldn't grow up thinking adults are fine and they've got it and everything's under control. And, oh, when I'm an adult, there will be no problems. Look, there are no problems in adults. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, that is terrible. And talk. Okay, so here's a truly messy, vulnerable share. So last Friday we recorded episode 6, and I gave a very vulnerable share about my relationship with my father, and it had an impact on me that I was not aware of. Right, like I didn't anticipate feeling the feelings, but they weren't like, I didn't have clarity on what I was feeling. I was just really snarky and grumpy and short and annoyed. And so I was smiling the whole time you shared that story, because I was like, this was me on Friday. And I had an immediate sense of recognition of, oh, I'm like ready to chop my husband's head off, and he's done nothing but try to help me and be lovely to me when I walked in the door. So clearly this is a me issue. And I identified the me issue, and I told him, this has nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry that I'm in this state right now. I just need a minute. And I literally had to go to the bathroom, and I just sat there for 5 minutes. And I did breathing, got myself grounded, and we had to like rush out the door to go to a birthday dinner event out somewhere else, where I was just like dreading, like, oh, I just want to go home and stay in my pajamas. But I was able to like get myself to such a better state by just taking 5 minutes, even if it's on the toilet, people. I'm telling you, it worked. And just give yourself a minute. It worked. So thank you for that, Shannon Joe, because that just triggered that funny story.
Give yourself permission to sit on the toilet for 5 extra minutes. Oh my God. No, when you both said, I wrote down, how do you know? It's like, I wrote down snippy. I'm snippy, I'm annoyed, I'm bossy, and I'm angry. And yesterday morning, it's like, poor Johnny, he didn't do anything, but like, that's how I showed up immediately because of the news. And it's like, I took it out on him. So that's when I know, because I typically am taking it out on, right, whoever's nearby, typically the people you love the most.
Yeah.
And so I know that when I'm getting snippy, Joe, you said, you know when you're in alignment because you feel more peace. I agree with that. And I would add, for me, it's almost like this sense of freedom. I know I'm in alignment when I feel more free. And that looks like, it looks like trusting myself. It looks like feeling grounded in who I am again. It looks like stop obsessing over other people's opinion or approval. It looks like I don't need to overperform for anything today. Like yesterday, there wasn't 1% of performance happening, and it was such a beautiful day, you know? And you need those days because there are going to be days where you have to be on and it's go, 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 and there's meetings and you're back to back. So just letting yourself be in the dip, right?
Yeah.
That has just helped me rise again.
What I just processed when you said that was alignment means staying with yourself. Rather than getting ahead of yourself or reflecting behind yourself, it's staying wherever you are in that grounded moment and kind of being present with that and not having to perform. Identity not tied to performance. Like, I wasn't making my top 3 lists yesterday. I wasn't getting all of my house cleaning done yesterday. I wasn't even setting myself up for the week in the ways that I optimally like to do. So I couldn't do that. So the next best thing was sitting on the couch, and that was great. And then I figured out a way when I was in a better space today to reset this morning and shuffle the morning so I still accomplish the things I need to do to really set myself up. And frankly, all those other things, they'll get done. They always get done. Right, Alana? Like you said that. Yes, it always gets done.
Always gets done. You're right, though. How do you make sure? Because even when you just said that, it almost gave me a little anxiety for being behind.
Yeah.
So, right, Sunday, we're supposed to do the laundry, make sure things are clean, set yourself up for the week. So now we're giving ourselves permission to take that day off, right? So how did you, waking up this morning, Melissa, let yourself not feel behind? Or did you? And what did you do?
Yeah. So I think I just laughed at myself a good long while because I literally do the same 2 loads of I do 2 loads of laundry every week, right? Like I have 2 loads of laundry. It's the 2 of us, 2 loads of laundry. And guess what? I have enough clothes that I don't ever have to do laundry again. This is my reality, right? Not running out of anything, but the bullshit story I'm telling myself is I must do those 2 loads of laundry or my week is shot. Like I just laughed at myself. Like, don't be ridiculous. You're not going to run out of socks and underwear. It's just not going to happen. And if it does, guess what? You can like go to bed and throw a load of laundry in and wake up in the morning and put it in the dryer. Like, it's not the end of the world. And so just giving myself the grace and the humor of seeing how absurd my all or nothing thinking is at times. Like you talk about talking to yourself all the time, Alana. I laugh at myself all the time because I have these preposterous and absurd like narratives internally that like the world will collapse if I do not mop the floor every Sunday and vacuum all the baseboards. Sometimes I do that because it does make me feel good, right? Like if I want to do that and I have time to do that, that's a great thing for me to do because it's mindless. It's like physical activities involved. So I'm moving. I'm not just sitting. But that is not going to end my life because I didn't vacuum the baseboards on a Sunday, right? Like, so I laugh at myself, reground myself. So these 9 things that I typically say are my priorities for a Sunday. How many of them are real deal breakers? Like what's going to have a cascading effect on the rest of the new week? There was like 0 things. 0. So laugh at yourself and move on.
Love that advice. Definitely laugh at yourself. I heard this thing that if you ever do something really clumsy or like spill something or whatever, and especially if you're alone, you should say, and end scene. Well, basically, like the other day, I just spilled a whole bunch of cat food. I like overflowed it and it was all over the floor. And I was like, end scene, just like by myself. So you could just laugh at yourself and be like, that was silly. I'm silly.
That's the best comedy show ever.
Yeah.
It's ever. So my true takeaway, and we're going to talk about our things, our one thing. My true takeaway is it's basically asking myself this question, like, what does it look like if I were to meet myself today with compassion and grace? And then what do I need in order to feel grounded, whole, and peaceful? That's my takeaway. What about you guys?
I feel like there's something around reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your freedom with whatever that looks like for you. And for me, what I learned about myself yesterday was I wasn't coming full picture and I wasn't leaning into this too shall pass mentality and the trusting that for some reason this is happening and we may not see the why or how. But you just have to trust and have faith.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, for me, I think, so my Sunday was great, and I feel horribly that you guys had such a heavy Sunday. But for my reality is, because I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow, I had decided with a snowstorm predicted that Sunday and Monday were probably a write-off. I was not going to get anything done. So I kind of kicked butt on Saturday. And so when Sunday came, everything I did, it was done because I was like, oh, I'll go do that. There was no plan involved. And I think for me, having a day a week or a day every couple of weeks where there is no plan, I'm not setting any expectations for myself. Those are the days for me when I have them that they are the most productive. So I think it sounds almost like an oxymoron. Plan a day that has no plan. And I think to do that for yourself, and if that means being a little bit busier on maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that you can have that Sunday or whatever day works for you, or even just evening, afternoon, create a day where there's nothing. You expect nothing of yourself. The baseboards will still have the dog hair on them tomorrow. You know, or there'll be more tomorrow, whatever.
There's definitely more, just like the snow that I've been shoveling. It's like, it's an exercise in futility.
So I think my takeaway is allow yourself to do nothing and plan nothing. And by allow yourself, actually plan a day with no plan and no expectations. Stay in your pajamas. Let your hair be gross. Like, just do it.
Yeah. Love it. Oh yeah, I love it. Powerful. Do you guys see this beautiful lady behind me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I got to tell you about her because she's really important to me. Because I stalked her at an art show and I wasn't going home without her. So, and I couldn't figure out why, because this is a piece of art I saw across the room and I was obsessed with it and drawn to it. And I literally sat in front of it and stalked it because it was an auction. I was like, nobody better bid on this. This is mine. And then I saw the artist included a message with it. And now I know why she's mine. It says the intuitive process is akin to peeling back the layers of an onion and painting them on canvas for all to see. I wanted to paint a series of warrior women that would speak for many of us that feel silenced. As women and human beings, our voice may seem like a whisper, but this painting indicates otherwise. Inside each of us beats the heart of a warrior, and we underestimate our power until we call it forth. Never sell yourself short, as you are made for great things. The journey to find what those are makes life beautiful. The dark and the light, the yin and the yang, it makes us whole and connects us as women and human beings.
Wow.
And that is from the artist who is Pamela Riley Shepis. And someday I will meet this woman and she will continue to make art for me because that is powerful beyond measure for me. So I hope it resonated with you as well.
Yes, and I love the journey piece because this is it. We're in the journey of learning about ourselves and who we are and what we need and what we can handle and what we can't. And we are way more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. So yeah, definitely that hit.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, we hope that this episode touched you and addressed where you are in this time and space. And we hope that you can think of someone else that may be going through something similar and may need to have you share that with them. I had a beautiful story of one of our tribe shared this with someone who was going through a challenge and got feedback that it made a difference in that person's life. And that is my why. That is our why. And why we're doing this is to have impact and be able to share what our experiences are to bless others. And so we know that when you share this, it is resonating, and we're proud of that. But we also want it to be a two-way communication. So we encourage you, tap into our socials, connect with us. You have ideas for future episodes. Maybe you have a question, a burning question you want us to focus on. We encourage you to share that with us. And we look forward to spending time with you again. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing you soon.